What's next for the skill-less stuff?
Skill-less? Well, that's another episode, right?
But you got 10 seconds, Barry. What do you think?
What do I think of the skill-less stuff? Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Hello and welcome to Super ComBros, the Dragon Ball Super card game podcast where we ramble for 90 minutes at a time and the power levels don't matter. I'm Barry, and joining me for part 3 of our one-part series on keywords is once again Vince. Say hi, Vince.
Hi, everyone.
And Matt. Say hi, Matt.
Good evening, everyone.
You say good evening, but we don't really know when people are listening to it.
Yeah, but I like to tell them that we're putting in the hard night's work and making sure we get this out in the hard deadline of...
We certainly are. I like it.
Tomorrow. Working all hours for you guys.
Excuse me? Tomorrow?
Yeah, Vince, get on it.
Vince in charge of editing and putting up.
We'll see about that. But
people need to know about keywords. There might be new ones by the time this comes out if you don't release it.
Fair play. But by all accounts, even that we release these podcasts basically at least every Tuesday morning, the chances are people will listen to it some way through the day. But yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think people might listen to it when they're trying to go to sleep. And
what are they talking about?
You've got a niche. That's our thing. If you need to sleep, we'll get you there.
Put this on for an hour and a half, you'll be cooked out in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, I mean, I guess a quick recap of the last two. You know, it's nothing much has changed, right? But it's interesting that a few other people have gone back and looked at some of the keywords and the skills since we started the podcast. Looks like everybody's thinking about the same thing at the same time. Zeitgeist. Alliance got a bit of traction. Nothing's changed, but played a little more. Was it Blue-Green Vegito with Revive?
Yep.
That's a thing that's relevant. We discussed Swap. You know, it's coming back in set 11. We've seen Indestructible in the new Garlic Junior. There's a new, it's no longer as a Zamasu exclusive. I don't know. Do you think we've been a bit critical of Bandai loving and leaving keywords? Have we just not given them the chance?
I mean, all in all, the game is still fairly recent, isn't it? Like, when has it released for the first? Was it 2017, the first year that it's been released?
Sounds right. Can't confirm. Wasn't playing it then, but yeah, sounds about right.
But even if it's 2016, like, that's still a fairly recent game, and they've done a lot of things. Like, they've put in a lot of mechanics. If they were to come back on all the old mechanics every cycle or so, like, there would barely be any space for any new ones. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Probably more Aegis to come. Aegis.
I hope so. Got to make it.
Do we? Is it really that?
I've actually built the deck since we talked about it, and even if it's not performing, at least it's fun.
Well, fun's half the battle, right? I mean, like I say, we're not pros. We play the game because we think it's good. We enjoy playing it. But there's a lot more even kitchen table players, and whilst the competitive scene always picks apart everything, those guys that just want to see Vegeta and Goku battle, or go into your favorite arc and battle, will always be the majority. So fun is good, but anything else?
We still like to win.
We still like to win because it happens so infrequently. Anything else on previous keywords anybody was thinking about since we last spoke?
I'm not really have to. I've been toying with the Aegis deck, whether it should be U6 or keeping the Vegeta module, like the fire angles. It's fun. I haven't found a relevant way to put a unison in it, of course, yet. Although the Vegeta yellow is, I guess, a decent pick. No more thoughts apart anything about the keywords we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, cover that. I think I wanted to quickly touch upon counterattacks. Because last week Vince and I set 10 only tournament, and it was interesting that none of the extra cards, extra negates, outright stopped the attack. That was interesting and something we didn't really touch upon when talking about sort of counter-attack plays, I don't think. the fact that they're free with unisons maybe prevents them from stopping the attack? Is it too powerful if you get a free negate, like a completely free negate, no sparking, you don't have to take a life, no anything along those lines? And similarly, there's already so many stop the attack negates. Do we need any more?
That's very true. Like, diversification is always interesting, and there's also, it's not exactly something we touched on very much yet, but anything about rotation or the implication of rotation regarding these negates, or these counterattacks, I should say, because they are not negates. Regarding these counterattacks, like if rotation comes and we don't see negates, or we don't see them in the same forms as we knew them, that will definitely change things as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I wonder, did negates come in and they were at the sort of peak of their power? Is stopping an attack kind of the top level of where you want a counter attack to be? And then they had nowhere else to go but moving it around, right? Playing it for free and not doing so much. After image didn't stop an attack, but it gave you so much combo power that it'd be very difficult to get out of. Anyway, and rotation would be interesting, but that's got to be another episode.
Yeah.
Now today we did say we were going to talk mostly about super combos, but there were a couple of keywords that we missed last time. I know it's hard to believe 3 hours in and still keywords we haven't spoken about. One of them is Dragon Ball. So obviously only on the Dragon Ball cards. Everybody know what Dragon Ball does?
Well, it's a keyword that basically says you can have up to 7 cards with Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball keyword in your deck. You can have 7 copies of the same card. And that's basically it, right?
Effectively, if only it were so simple. But the actual wording is Dragon Ball is a keyword skill that has a permanent effect on deck building, which reads as follows. You can include as many copies of a card with Dragon Ball in your deck as you like, as long as the total number doesn't exceed 7. Now that does not seem elegant to me, but is there something in that wording that would be confused if you just said you may include up to 7 copies of cards with Dragon Ball on it?
I guess there are 2 things. Like, there's the fact that this goes around the 4 copies of a card limit, and it gives up to 7. Like, the fact that you can have 7 different ones, but therefore not 28. If you see what I mean. Like, this is a nuance that I guess it's actually not that easy to phrase. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, but in terms of Ultimate, right? So Ultimate's different wording again. It's a permanent keyword skill related to deck construction. So already different between deck building and deck construction. The player may only have 1 card with Ultimate in their deck. Surely something like a player may have up to 7 cards with the Dragon Ball in their deck.
Yeah, I mean, the wording is inconsistent and, it's clear enough, right? I think...
Yeah, nobody's stuffing it up. They understand.
I think everyone sort of gets what Dragon Ball means.
And if we want to really touch on the wording, there's a lot more to say about templating and wording about the game than, I guess, Dragon Ball the keyword.
Yeah, very true, very true. In terms of the Dragon Balls, then, there's... How many Dragon Balls are there? 9? 10. 10 Dragon Balls.
Yeah, it's 10, yeah.
1 through 7.
2 zeros, and then the Super Dragon Balls.
Yeah, so Purungas and Dragon Balls, which are functionally identical.
I don't think there's any difference between them, is there? Apart from the name.
No. I guess... I can't think of a reason why you'd have an interaction with something that said Purunga's Dragon Ball that wouldn't just work off Dragon Ball, but...
there isn't currently in the game, is there? But, I guess in future, in the same way that we've got Agents of Destruction where it references card names, I guess if you maybe reference Purunga, and it would work with Purunga's Dragon Balls, and work with all the Purunga cards, maybe there's space there.
Yeah.
I believe it's mainly that the Purunga's Dragon Ball came in a themed booster, and they probably just wanted to stick closer to the theme of the box.
Yeah, that's probably right. The theme boosters supposed to be like these self-contained side. What's the word? Side metas. Side.
Interestingly, as well, we have recently had Dark Dragon Balls coming out. Dark Energy Dragon Balls. Negative Energy. How do they call them?
Yep.
Dark Dragon
Negative.
Balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's call them Dark Dragon Balls, which are not Dragon Balls, and probably very rightly so. I mean, you can argue about that, of course, from a lore point of view, but from a pure mechanics and game design, like they can't exactly be Dragon Balls. Otherwise, it probably would be broken in some kind of way.
I don't think so. I think nothing else really works off Dragon Ball apart from the Wish Leaders, and I think. I don't know, the Dark Dragon Balls, would you fit them in a Wish Leader? Like, instead of
depends what
normal
they fit,
Dragon
right?
Balls?
And the form they're in, they'd have to be battle cards, right? Because that's how they've been built. But there might still be potential for.
No, they're not battle cards.
They're extra cards.
Some of them are extra cards.
Oh, what's the. So the negative energy ones are battle card.
Yeah,
dark.
The Dark Dragon Balls, the ones that start the Shincheron chain, for example, are extra cards. No, you're right.
No.
There is
They're battle cards, and then the dark ones that you put underneath a card and then end up with like a Xeno version. They're the Dark Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
Yep, very right. So we have the negative energy and the Dark Dragon Balls, which technically are one and the same from a lore point of view. But if they are Dark Dragon Balls, they're extra cards.
No.
I don't know. They're not the same
Dark
from a
Dragon
lore point
Balls
of
are
view.
Oh no, okay. Dark are from the Xeno arc. Okay.
The what the video game's called? Xenoverse?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't played the video game arc. I've read and watched all of Dragon Ball, included GT for what's worth. But yeah, I haven't played the Xeno Universe video game or whatever that came from.
So the Dark Dragon Balls are the extra ones. And the negative energy ones are the battle cards that go in Shincheron.
Exactly. Which are not Dragon Ball either. I guess, like if they're dragons.
So let's talk about the ones that are Dragon Balls.
Yep. Thanks to me.
Let's do this, yeah.
So you've just got your standard Dragon Ball and your Prungus Dragon Ball, Shenron leader, draw a card. It's one of the main things of what all the Wish Leaders do, and which I think we're going to come into straight after we talk about Dragon Balls. Pretty key element. You can go and search for them for a few cards, draw some cards, nice bit of card advantage, or cycling even. Anyone got anything really on these? Like, I think they just fit a nice generic.
Yeah, the zero cost card draw ones are fine for deck thinning.
Yeah.
The fact they're extra cards and there's not a lot that interacts with them. That could be disastrous for Wish Leaders if there was something that got rid of them from the drop.
Which I think there is now, right? There's a few cards that shuffle stuff into your deck.
Correct, but it doesn't get rid of them. Like if you ever went to the warp, the Wish Leaders would be stuffed.
Yeah, though I think all the cards that shuffle stuff into your opponent's deck only target battle cards, right? Like the Hatchak.
Not everything. I think you're right. There are some that pick two cards in your or pick a card in your opponent's drop, but you can still get it back out with your leader ability.
Not if you've switched over, right?
But if you already awakened, then yeah, it will stop you performing. Well, we'll talk about Wish, I guess, that ability there. But yeah, that's fine because you can still draw it.
Yeah.
I have to admit, the whole Dragon Ball mechanic and the way they've designed it, that works with the Wish Leaders, so it's hard to not mix the conversation. But I do really like it. Like the Dragon Balls are like the core of Dragon Ball, like the name says it really. But yeah, I like they printed 7 of them, like slightly different ideas, fairly vanilla in a way. I really like that, and the fact that you have the set of leaders and a few cards that play around it in a very lore way as well. I do really, really like that.
So you're not a fan of them, Vince?
I like that.
It's interesting as well. Speaking of lore, the 4-star ball is the only one that sees play.
Yeah.
Like outside the Wish Leader with the normal 7 Dragon Balls, but the 4-star ball has a bit of support, which the other cards don't, as far as I'm aware.
No, yeah, that's what I was going to sort of move on to. Maybe we would go through the rest of them, but I think start with the 4-star one because that's seen the most play. Gives you +5 1,000 power in a battle. And then if it's skillless, you get another plus 5,000, so a total of plus 10 combo power for 0. Supported by the Kid Ku leader, who's Black Kid Goku. And you can show people your balls to draw cards.
Hey.
Yeah.
Which is obviously been thinking about that since episode 2.
Yeah, I have. No, I mean, it's the greatest part of playing that leader, isn't it? Just showing someone else your balls. And...
well, you play a different game than us.
Yeah. And then this has obviously recently got even more skillless support now with the 1 cost 10k ones. I think they're doing a lot to help 4-star balls remain relevant. And like you said, it's the most important one for the story. It's on Gohan's head, isn't it? And it's the one that's Grandpa Gohan.
Yeah, it's the one that started technically the whole story, and that's really cool to see it play. I guess it makes sense that it gets more support than the others because the others really have no backstory to them. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. I like it a lot. I'm a fan.
What do you think? What's next for the skillless stuff?
Skillless. Well, that's another episode, right?
But you got 10 seconds, Barry. What do you think?
What do I think of the skillless stuff? Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Like, until I've played it, I won't really know. It's interesting that they're supporting it. Obviously, a skillless card by its very nature is not very interesting. Interesting how the power level kind of crept on skillless cards, going from 1 drop 10Ks.
2 drop 15Ks and then 3 drop 20Ks, and now they're 2 drop 20Ks, 3 drop 30Ks.
Yeah. But again, like I say, more support's coming, but it's something else to talk about because it's the surrounding cards rather than the fact the card's skillless that's interesting, right?
Yeah, exactly. But this is one of the surrounding cards, so I guess with this in the game, I think skillless will always kind of... There's definitely a good reason to play just hyper-efficient, like big number power cards. So what about 1-star ball? What does that do?
Nobody knows.
If your leader card is a Shenron card, draw 1 card, then choose 1 card from your hand and place it in your drop area. Your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and places it in their drop area. And this costs 1. So this did see a little bit of play when we had like Shenron Reanimator.
Yeah.
As it's called, when you were playing World Peace and getting out a 7 drop for free. And this used to play one of these as one of its 7 Dragon Balls, maybe, because you can just spend the 1 energy, draw a card, and your opponent drops a card. So that's, you guess you end up in a +1 situation there. I think it's been quite nice to maybe see some more support for this one.
It could be. I mean, do you think it's the 1 cost that's crippling that? I mean, if it was free, it'd be a bit too good, right?
Yeah, if it was free and you ended up, you put 7 of those in your deck and you play a Wish Leader, you just destroy your opponent's hand turn 1. So it has to cost 1. And I think also Wish Leaders, which we'll get on to earlier, they don't stand energy when they awaken, so you don't really get that energy efficiency. So I guess that's a bit of a drawback, but it'd be kind of cool to see a bit more a hand destruction deck out of a Wish Leader.
I don't know if I want to say that today. I have to admit, like the green hand destruction decks we've seen around in the past few weeks, months now, are good. I mean, I totally understand how that lives in the game, and I'm certainly not mooning about it as it is today. But if we were to end that cycle of hand destruction with it being replaced by another cycle of hand destruction by other Wish Leaders, I'm like, probably want to see something else.
I might give that a build. You've got Chi-Li's got a little bit of support.
I wouldn't do that if I was you.
We're playing for fun, remember, Vince. Not pro.
Exactly.
Do you want to go through all the cost Dragon Balls, or do we pick our favourites that aren't played? Or
there's just 7 of them. We might as well just go quickly through them, right?
Right.
We've just done the 1-star ball. Do you want to do the 2-star ball, Barry?
I don't know what it does. I'm sure Matt's.
Do you want to do the 2-star ball, Matt?
Yeah, let me just get it up.
Have it in front of
choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 2 or less and KO it. It costs 1. That's a bit pants in it. I guess it's not leader locked.
it's not leader locked. If you wanted, you could play 7 of it. I mean, in earnest, in the meta, well, I guess in a set 10 meta in which you can't play the 2-star Dragon Ball, you'd be able to get rid of a lot of 2-cost cards that are kind of key for many decks for 1 energy, so you get a bit of advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you wouldn't want to play 7 of them, right? I mean, in any deck. But again, if it had some sort of support, if Wish Leaders had some sort of support where KOing one of your opponent's battle cards did something else, that might see play, but it would need something to prop it up and probably built into a leader.
I think what it'd need maybe is if the Dragon Ball wasn't restricted to your sideboard, so you could play this one as one of maybe your like sideboard cards. So when you're playing your Wish Leader, after game 1, you side out one of your normal Dragon Balls, get one of these because you need to get rid of a 2-coster. But obviously you can't do that, and I think.
Well, similarly, if it ignored
true.
barrier or something.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that's probably where it has to be.
So to clarify, you can only have 7 Dragon Balls between your main deck and your side deck. You can't have.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
The 7 Dragon Balls have to be in your deck. Well, technically, you can leave a few in your side deck if you want, but you'll never be able to
awaken. Yeah.
And I just think there's enough effects in like black and also in most main colours that this deck's not like you don't need this card anymore. You don't need a colourless to kill KO as a 2-coster. I'm sure it's probably better off. You can get it in other ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's all colors, bar maybe for yellow, will have something better to play.
Yeah, to just get rid of a 2-drop.
That was the 2-star ball. Should we move on to the 3-star ball?
Mm-hmm.
So draw 1 card, then choose it to one of your battle cards, and it can attack battle cards in active mode for the duration of the turn. Again, not leader locked and costs 1.
Might be a bit underestimated in earnest today.
Well, sorry, who does it give the ability to attack battle cards?
Any of your battle cards.
Yeah, any of your battle cards.
Sorry, does it give all of your battle cards?
Up to 1.
So a single person can attack.
Yeah.
Meh.
Yeah.
So you would need dual or triple attack, but like you don't lose card advantage because you draw 1, and for 1 you can attack like standing battle cards that often you want to get rid of. I don't know.
Yeah, I think attacking battle cards in active mode it's all right, but it's not worth a card in your deck unless you've specifically got a strategy around it. Say with like Yamcha at 100%, but then Red has more like better cards for attacking battle cards in active mode. It's got the Unison, it's got a card with Jiren on it, and it's meditating from Draftbox 5.
Meditation?
Is that what it's called?
I believe so, but don't know.
Well, there you are. I thought it was, but I wasn't quite sure.
Plus I know what you're saying there, Vince, in terms of card advantage, but also tempo. If you're attacking battle cards with one of your battle cards, it could be attacking the leader or the Unison. It's not as good as just playing a card that takes care of whatever you were going to be attacking.
Yeah, so you could just play the 2-star one and KO 2.
Yeah, depending what you're going to be hitting, of course.
Yeah, I get that. I'm not saying it's a great card. Like if it was a great card, it would probably, or even a sleeper, it would probably be known. But yeah, it's there. And in some decks, if you can have like a few cards in your deck, probably even just six copies of cards that have dual or triple attack with a decent amount of strength, of course. Like you pay 1 energy, you don't lose any card advantage, and you can get rid of probably 2 to 3 cards on your opponent's board. Like, doesn't seem such a bad deal.
But then the cards that are standing on your opponent's side, bar maybe Invoker Vegeta, aren't really going to be doing much unless your opponent would have swung with them if they were good.
Well, I don't know. Like for example, then again, it's very much a recency bias. But like on Saturday, of course, it was set 10, but that's just for the sake of the example. The Ginyu decks, for example, tended to keep their Gildo standing, which is the card that actually allows them to sort the top of their decks and make sure that they get all the efficiency from their leader. So you will find like utility cards like this that often are quite important. Vegeta Invoker being a good example of this, that are going to stay standing and that are going to be hard to get rid of because they're standing.
Well, not really. I mean, the 2-star ball would kill Guldo, no problem.
And
You don't sacrifice the attacker for it.
And there's plenty of other removal, right, as well. Sorry, Mary. But
I was saying, like, in terms of if you have a dual attacker or a triple attacker, again, wasting it, right, on standing battle cards isn't, top strats as far as I can see. Like, if you already got that in place, being able to hit the leader 3 times typically will get you more value than taking out 3 battle cards.
That's the type of it kind of links back to a conversation we've had with Matt after a game we've played where Matt was saying very rightfully that I have a playstyle where I don't attack my opponents enough. Like I tend to wait it out, and often I'm like, do I need to attack him? I'm just gonna give him a card. One life less is not gonna make a big difference and stuff like that. And I totally get that. That's something I need to be more mindful of. But
how you win?
yeah.
But at the same time, like there will be situations where like it's fairly tight, you might be a bit behind, but if you can get rid of their ball for the cost of just 1 energy, basically, rather than attacking their leader and giving them, maybe awakening them or just giving them the more cards in hand, you'll find yourself in a better situation this way.
Yeah, but I just think there's better ways of removing battle cards than attacking them, right? Which is basically the point that Mario's making here. It's like, and there's so many cards now, when they had to play KO battle cards or like warp them, put them at the bottom of the deck, you're already doing that. Whereas this card is not even a. You draw a card.
Very specific meta where you main deck this.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's a matter of meta or the deck you play, like the deck that is played by the player who plays this. You get my point. And again, I'm not saying it's a great card. I'm not even saying it's a sleeper. I'm just trying to find ways it can fit in some situations.
I guess maybe for decks that don't have good ways of getting around barrier, that this is possibly a sideboard card if a meta is dominated by a card with barrier that sits there and doesn't attack, say Invoker Vegeta.
Or even the U11 little guy that gives barrier to everyone.
Yeah.
Fine. Well,
here we go.
I think we've gone rogue on trying to find fringe case uses for that card. What are we on next?
5-star ball. Activate main, draw 1 card, then choose it to one of your battle cards and it gains blocker until the end of your opponent's next turn. Again, not leader looked.
So it negates blocker.
No. The card you choose gains blocker until the end of your opponent's next turn.
I mean, fine. I mean, there's a bunch of revenge cards that don't have many ways of getting blocker.
I mean, it costs 1 as well, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's like, are you spending a card? I guess you're not spending a card, you're drawing a card. Are you spending an energy to give something blocker that your opponent knows about?
The blocker is technically kind of a negate, but it's going to play the turn very differently because your opponent knows about it, as you say.
Yeah, they'll try and bait out your blocker early doors. But again, just what we've said, so easy to remove a card.
Yeah.
The fact you've given it blocker a turn in advance just means your opponent can then take it out before they even start swinging. So,
I mean, we say it's so easy to remove a card. Is it really? Like, is it a case of actually with the snap of a finger, any turn, for very little investment, you can remove an opponent's card?
Yep.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, so plenty of arrival cards you'll get for 1 energy, plenty of
and
negate.
Would it be
a card?
Would it be such a bad deal if ultimately your opponent spends the arrival card, the ability of an arrival card, just to get rid of a small blocker that you've put into play, and that didn't cost you any card to give it blocker?
As well.
Well, it's cost you the card to put it into play, right? and so you spent the energy putting that card into play and the card. Then you spend an energy on this 5-star ball. Granted that you then draw a card, but that's also a card in your deck that you've had to give up to play this one card, and all they've had to do is play a normal strategy and maybe go, oh, now this has got blocker, I'll blow that up.
But the thing is,
if you have
that
something
up,
better on the field, they'll blow the other thing up anyway. And so many cards in Dragon Ball have entered play effects where they just KO cards.
yeah, no, I get your point. Again, like I'm not fighting to say they're good.
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of playing the dragon's advocate here. Yeah, it's. I mean, I do think blocker, because it's kind of negates an attack, although it doesn't. I understand that. There might be uses here and there, and I believe the question of, is you spending 1 energy worth your opponent spending their arrival and whatever else to get rid of that blocker? I mean, is that worth? I would say in some cases it is, because if they get rid of that small blocker that you've played instead of your 2, 3, who knows, maybe 4, 5 costers, and if they get rid of the 5 costers that they would have gotten rid of anyway, you still negate an attack for 1, which is basically the same, but you don't spend a card for it. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's another episode here on how to evaluate cards.
Vincent, you need to be taught a lesson.
I think the problem with that is it's like, yeah, there are some situations, but then you need, like, your deck is only 50 cards. All your cards need to be good in most situations. And I think that's the problem with these Dragon Balls, that they're all pretty niche. And I'd kind of like it if they made them a bit better. We can always have new versions of these Dragon Balls, like with the same name, different text.
Sure. But for example, like thinking about the new Vegito leader, that draws in standard energy when one of your blue battle cards is KO'd or removed. Like, would you consider, like, rather than playing the blue blockers, or maybe playing a different set of cards aside of the blue blockers that have abilities when they leave, like the 2-cost Vegeta that gains critical and has an effect when he leaves play, which basically never leaves play because of that effect. If you gave him blocker, would it be worth it? You gain a lot when he leaves?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what you need, right? You need a card that has an advantage to leaving play due to getting hit.
That doesn't already have blocker.
That doesn't already have a way of turning that on.
And
so
you need also to have other cards. You need to have multiple cards, I think, to make this deck card worth running. And how many are you going to run to then make that work? And
yep, I mean, now it makes me want to try to build a wish deck with this Dragon Ball and a number of cards that will gain something. When you leave, a bit like the you lose, you win type of game, you can see.
You can't play these in a wish leader. I think that's one of the issues as well.
Yeah, because
it's costly.
Yeah, it costs 1. It's true. So it's harder to get to your bin.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, you're sure you have all of them in your hand. Yes. I don't know. I'll give it a try. I will see. I'll see where I land.
Right, 6-star ball. Activate battle. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 10,000 power for the duration of the turn.
So basically,
cost 1 as well.
Well, I suppose it's useful for the triple attackers.
Yeah, like activate battle is quite nice, but it's pretty low impact, and the duration of the turn is. There aren't that many negative effects that do duration of the turn.
I mean,
quite a few, but
all things considered, technically it's a bit like a multicolor card for which you would pay 1 to give +10. Here you give -10, but the result in the battle is fairly similar. The -10 can be a bit more impactful because, as you said, given that it's for the turn, if you have someone that has dual, triple, or that type of stuff, suddenly you really neg them properly and impair them properly. for only one. Sometimes if you play red burn, I guess it will find a way in.
I think red has better burn effects rather than this. But by burn, we mean negative power. I don't know what you call them in Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
Because
fine.
burn in Dragon Ball is direct damage.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Yeah, that's some Thrones terminology for listeners. Burn in Thrones reduces strength.
Well, yeah, you give -10. Does red have better cards than this? Cards that be activate battle cost 1 and give -10? I mean, they will have better cards.
-15 and
Yeah, well, including their negates.
yeah, and against.
Yeah,
So
fair
this was
play.
much better. But this may almost have been a product of its time. So the big Shenron deck at the time, the finisher was the Gogeta, which you would give triple strike to, and it had dual attack.
You give it triple attack to. Yeah, it had triple strike, and you give it
so
triple attack.
It might have. I would say that was probably the meta where it's most likely going to have seen play, and it still didn't. Now, whether people, as you say, slept on it or whether it just didn't make the cut, because you'd have to put it into a non-wish deck, because it's a defensive thing. You want it later on when the dual attack, triple attacks are out there, so you can't play it out of wish. And then it just didn't really find a home anywhere else. So it is what it is. So now 7-star ball, that's the only one I know what it does do, because that I feel is more of a sleeper than anything else.
What does it do then, Barry?
It gives, you can get +5 to a leader for your turn. And it's free.
So activate battle. If your leader card is a Shenron card, choose one of the effects. If your leader card is 10,000 power and you have 5 or less life, your leader card gets +1,000 power for the duration of the turn. Choose your lead card or one of your battle cards, and it gets +5,000 power for the duration of the battle. So it's got that multimodal sort of bit. It can always be used as a +5k combo, so pretty much like your other battle card, a normal battle card. And then it has this nice little defensive bit when you're on your unawakened side, but when you're 5 or less life. So I guess you're only doing it when you're on 5 life. Because after that, you'd be awakened. Yeah. Though I guess they awaken with 7 Dragon Balls rather than.
Yeah. That's true. So you awaken when this is already in the drop.
Yeah.
You can't use it anymore. I mean, technically, if it wasn't for the, if you have 5, I mean, even without that, if your leader card is a Shenron card, choose one. Your leader of one of your battle cards gets +5k. That's basically exactly the same as the 4-star ball, minus the skill-less part of the ability.
Which is quite a big part of it, Vince. But...
No, absolutely. Yeah. But the skill-less you play in a very specific deck. If you're thinking about, if you're thinking about, I'm losing my word now. Just a generic wish deck, then the 4-star ball or the 7-star ball are basically the same thing. Apart from the fact that the 7-star ball will have this added fact that you can give your leader +5 for the turn, which is kind of a sensu bean.
Yeah, I think if you could side into these, you might switch out one of your normal draw ones into one of these, and maybe against a deck that's running a lot of that goes wide and attacks you with a lot of 15ks, because you can play this as your 7th one, get 50 +5k. Wish Awaken, get up to 20k for the turn, and then a bit like Protector of the People and Senzu Bean, you can use those cards defensively. And I think if you could side into this, it'd be quite a handy little thing to have.
Yep.
I think here, we're saying has to be your 7th card. I think it just has to be a turn where you're not wanting to take hits, because remember you can recur them with Dragon Radar and the Bulmas.
That's true.
Once you're awake, and then you're getting your 20k benefit, like you're saying. Obviously, again,
it doesn't work because you'd be on 50. Once you're awake, you're at 15k, so you can't use it.
Does it just say? Is it 10?
If your lead card has 10,000 power, yeah.
Okay, fine.
So it has to be
trash.
Yeah, I think if they got rid of that, then it'd be worth having one of. But because they've got that clause in, that you might want to side into it. But again, having only 7 in your deck total,
Yeah.
you can't side into some of these, and I think that's how you'd have to sort of be a bit flexible for Bandai to make these better without just reprinting them.
Yeah, get some new Dragon Balls. But yeah, all trash. Oh, I suppose we've still got the
Super
main-
Dragon Ball, the good one.
Yeah.
So last one. This is 2 costs, so pretty expensive. But if your lead card is a Shenron card, draw 4 cards, then choose 2 cards from your hand and place them in your drop area, which is that's a lot of card advantage. I mean, a lot of people are splashing big money for
Apes.
the apes. We draw 2 for 2 energy. So this is draw 4, pitch 2, so the same kind of card advantage. Obviously, the apes from the bin rather than this is from your hand. But then if you're using Wish Leader, you've dug it out of your deck. So
Yeah, I mean it was run as a one-off as well, right?
yeah, and I think this is probably the one with the most potential going forward, depending on like Shenron cards that we have coming up. I think the thing with the ape is what makes the ape good is that late on in the game it gives you an energy sink, and the Super Dragon Ball in a Wish Leader, you have to play it early to get it, maybe in your bin, and then I guess you can recur it later on with Bulma or Dragon Radar, and then have it in an energy sink then. But I think if you use Dragon Radar, you're paying 1 energy for Dragon Radar, 2 energy for this, then you're spending 3 energy for draw 4, pitch 2.
So
For draw 5, isn't it? Because you would technically get 2 Dragon Balls back with the Dragon Raider, so you could draw 1 plus the Super Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I guess so. You're playing 3 energy but then you're spending a card as well.
Yeah.
Well,
it's that.
I guess you're spending the card anyway, but
Yeah, but I believe you're actually, the comparison is very relevant with the apes, and you said it yourself. Like, what the apes are in the drop, so you could have used them to like get out of a cheeky attack at the beginning of the game with the +5 of the combo, and then still get +2 in your hand with 2 energies. Well, here ultimately you would only get +1 because you lose a card for that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, but you're seeing more cards, right? And then pitching 2, and pitching 2 cards isn't always a cost. It can be an advantage. You might want things in your drop. I think this one has the most sort of potential going forward. Like, obviously, like none of the Shenron leaders are really seeing play at the moment, but
I don't know. So the other thing with I guess that makes sense in some ways, but the energy is so tight with the Shenron leaders. Like you don't. It's not true actually. I guess the Traitor Dende does that pretty well. It doesn't really need the Super Dragon Ball, right? Like you'd rather use it on another.
But they usually NG well later when you can start using desire cards for free. But then early on in the game when you're kind of trying to play this, they're quite tight on energy, I think. And this basically means you can't awaken turn 1, which sometimes you can with a Wish Leader. And this is on turn 2, you're tapping out to awaken, unless you just pitch it with maybe like Oob or something.
Yeah, true. Well, I get your point. It's interesting. I'd be curious to see how that fits in a deck.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one to sort of think about, and every time the Shenron leader comes back to think about it. Maybe I'll put it in my hand destruction deck.
Please don't.
So that's all the Dragon Balls, and whilst we've been talking about the Dragon Balls, we've been talking about Wish Leaders. So Barry, do you want to move us on to the Wish Leaders?
absolutely do, because that was about 20 minutes longer than Dragon Balls than I was expecting. But yeah, worth talking about them all. Well, let's just talk about the awakening abilities in general. So flipping the cards over, awaken the default one. Wish came next, and then awaken Surge. So let's kind of bundle them up together. But starting with Wish, in order to get your power up, you need to make a wish, which requires having all 7 of the Dragon Balls in your drop. So that was a mechanic visited in set 5? Set 6? Can't remember. But not really been gone back to since. Now, overall, I just the interesting part there is why Surge came in as an awaken skill, but Wish came in as its own thing. So it doesn't trigger awakens, as far as I'm aware. Is that correct? Like you couldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you have a number of abilities that say, I've been blocked by that once. What was it? You can only stand energies using awaken abilities. And I had a wish one, so I couldn't do something. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, wish is not awaken.
Yeah, but interestingly, again, it's exactly the same in the rule text. It's just the condition that is different. So it's just interesting. Would wish? What's different about wish other than thematically? That couldn't have been awaken wish. Particularly at the time, obviously nobody knew Surge was coming, unless Bandai did. But awaken Surge obviously does trigger awaken abilities. So heartfelt plea certainly didn't exist when Wish was first published.
I don't know why. I believe it's just a matter of history in a way. Like they created the game, they had Awaken, they had that idea of Dragon Balls, and somehow they came up with the Wish instead of Awaken, which I think is very interesting, both from a lore and from a design point of view. And after that, it was like, we want to do something else. Should we call it something else? Should we call it a different name? Like it's technically an Awaken, and maybe they just thought it was simpler to call it Awaken Surge instead of Awaken Wish, like they could have had before. And they were like, well, too bad, too late. Like second time's the charm.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's something I'm missing that I'm not thinking about when I think of Wish leaders. Broadly, though, I mean, speaking about all three of the kind of flip side abilities, something we spoke about in the very first podcast was the built-in kind of catch-up mechanisms. So if you're getting pummeled by your opponent early doors, being able to awaken or flip over before they do, your stronger side prevents you continuing to get pummeled, depending on how strong the cards are, right? So, and quite thematic as well in terms of, you get a beating, your rage goes up, your power level spikes, and you can make a comeback from there.
So I have to admit that's another of the things that really pleased me with Dragon Ball. So as silly as it is, so the catch-up mechanic is one, and we talked about that before. Listen to the episode if you haven't yet. And the idea of awakening and going from like the normal version of the character to the bulked up version of the character, I really, really liked as well. Felt like it really fit the theme, really fit the license. And I found it really, really good. Core piece of the game. Yeah, it's great. I have little more to say, I have to admit, about it.
Yeah, in general, I've not a huge amount to say about the awaken and flip side abilities. There's different conditions. I think in terms of where we started talking about skills here. Some of the original leaders were a bit underpowered. They're reprinting the leaders. I think that's the revamped leaders. Oftentimes they didn't have a draw on the front side, and they only had a draw on the back side. Not too many of them, but there's probably like 4-8 different leaders that don't have a draw on the front side. They're very underpowered now, and don't see play. So the revamped leaders that they're introducing, I think, is an interesting return to style mechanic. You've got the same leader, does mostly the same thing, but powered up to be competitive in the current card pool. Although still some of them don't quite make the cut, but it gives you more options, which I think is decent. I don't know if you were thinking about. Did you have specific points on Wish versus Awaken?
Specifically on that, no. I mean, it's just always good to have another way of balancing the game. Like I think you mentioned, heartfelt play. Just you can have cards like that. Thematically, it's nice to have a deck which looks to getting 7 Dragon Balls together, and then that feels different if you call the Awakening something different. So just a bit of theme is quite nice. And then again, all the Wish leaders, I think, just get desire cards from the bin rather than standing energy or drawing cards. So again, it makes them distinct in that fashion. Like, could these have just been Awaken? Probably, yeah, but it's kind of nice to have a different word for it, and then just gives them that little bit of extra theme. Obviously, all the wish leaders then have sort of 3 modes on the back. So like draw a card, play a desire card, and then has the kind of like what I term the ultimate, where you warp 7 Dragon Balls, and they're all quite nice. And it'd be good to see more wish leaders in the future. They stopped printing them for a bit. They're still trying to support them. Anniversary box 2020, they gave Chilai some cards. But I think all the wish leaders are a bit underpowered at the moment, and I think, like you said, they don't really draw that much. On the front side, they look for Dragon Balls which draw cards, but then on the reverse side, you can choose like 1 of 3 modes. And it'd be good if you could draw cards and play Desire for free. And I think that might be the thing that kind of brings them back up to parity with normal leaders.
Well, canonically, there are other people that have made wishes with the Dragon Balls in the manga and the anime. So we might, there's certainly design space there, giving them different abilities, 100% possible. So maybe like a new set where they bring in 7 new Dragon Balls and a new set of wish leaders is possible. But I think there's such a wide variety of things that leaders do. Awakening conditions, whether that's life, the new ones peel off with 3 battle cards in play. Some awaken at 5, some can awaken at 2, and there's a couple of cards that support awakening at 2 with what's the pan, the yellow 2-drop
Grade 8 Whisperer. Is that what it's called?
Right. Something like that rewards you for going even further down than in your life, or some leaders don't awaken until 2 life. They're very high value on their other side, so you've got to be within kill shot to get their powers. So all very interesting, but I don't think that design space is tapped out. I do think they are doing different things with it, and I'll be interested to see other abilities that awaken, or whatever they want to call it, the leaders. I think that changes every set.
Yeah, I think the new ones in sort of set 10 onwards, when they've had this kind of multimodal thing where, say, Milku, when one of your cards is KO'd, you can flip them over, and then you draw down a 6 life, or you're at 4 life already, and you can flip over. And I think some of the others as well, when you do 1 awaken condition, draw 2 cards, and then on the normal awaken condition, they stand in NG and draw a card. I think they're doing a good job of making these multimodal ones a bit interesting, because I think they kind of got into set ways of like 4 life, stand to NG, draw 2 cards, or stand in NG and draw a card. Yeah, it's kind of nice to see some of them getting a bit of flexibility, but then also at the same time that it's not on every leader that they're printing this multimodal thing. So and I think, like you said, this design space is definitely not tapped out, and I think Bandai is going to keep pushing different ways of doing it. And we've got the Surge leaders, which I think we'll probably talk about next.
Yeah, I mean, can't talk about Surge. It's it's just a different thing, right? It is definitely a thing. There's no draw on the backside for the most part. So when choosing when to surge, because you could do it turn 1, is a key part of the decision space for playing those decks.
And then you get 2 big power flex. Well, a number of powerful effects, and you can use them twice. Is probably better phrasing. And that's quite nice to use a resource of putting cards under the leader and then spending them. It's I think that's one of the things I quite liked about Dragon Ball before we had Unisons, which get markers on, is that all the resources were basically just cards themselves, like your life as cards, Surge leaders were just cards.
Yeah, you could play with just the deck. But, like I say, I'm not. I don't know, Vince, have you got anything else to kind of add to the Awaken chat?
I mean, the Awaken Surge. Actually, there's one thing. There are a couple of things with the Awaken Surge leaders that I've been a bit torn about. it's not so much about the fact that it's called Surged, which basically means, as you said, you can awaken at any point and you have 2 shots with your awakened side. It's more that all the awakened Surge leaders are bicolor, and that's one of the things that kind of disappointed me, because like it makes, or it's, I know we see less of them today, so of course it will sound a bit weird, but it did feel like when you can pack more cards that say if your leader is X color in the same deck, then suddenly your deck should normally become stronger because you have access to more restrictions in a way. And it frustrates me also because the only real multicolor leader before was the Vegeta draft box. And I was really keen on building, I had actually a deck built with that guy based on the fact that he had technically multiple colors. And that's basically just gone down the drain when they came out. It's like, yeah, whatever I want to do with Vegeta, they do better.
What are the magic terms? Spike, Johnny, and Timmy. What one's Vince?
He's a Vince.
Vince is a magic type, right?
I don't know. He's the one that likes the building unsupported decks that aren't very good.
I'm the one that builds the decks that will become good. Like
too far ahead of the curve. Is that what it is?
It happens so many times at Thrones. Like I've been building decks and I'm like, the next spoiler is exactly what I needed. So everyone's gonna come into this.
It's not a Vince.
But it's not good until those cards have come out, Vince. So I think there's a difference between ahead of the curve and just the deck's
bad.
Just the deck's not there, and then everyone's like, "Oh, the deck's now there. Now I can play it." I wonder if we'll ever see a revisit of the Surge leaders. I think, there's 6 Surge leaders.
Color combos exist, right?
Yeah. So the Goku and the Piccolo are now being errated to be a lot worse. They did dominate the meta for a long time, and that wasn't not just because their effects were strong, but also just the fact that having a dual color leader in itself is pretty strong. Broly's still kicking about. It was sort of kicking about at tier 1.5 for a while, and it's kind of still a bit there. Kale never saw play, or is it Kefla?
Kefla.
Yeah, it's Kefla, yeah. I mean, that didn't really see any play. We've got Invocaku, which is obviously tier 1 deck, and then Cell Surge, which is a good leader, I think, and it did see some competitive play. Celerata hit it a little bit, and the fact that you don't sort of plus on your draw, you just kind of cycle is a bit of a drawback. But I think, given what like Son Goku and Piccolo happened, I wonder if they'll ever go back to dual color leaders.
I hope they won't, I have to admit.
Or like Vince saying, you got sort of the Universe 7 ones, or Vegito, or the draft box ones, which count as all colors.
Exactly. And I liked that, I don't know. I liked that the draft box leaders were all colors and were fairly vanilla, because all colors was really their identity on top of their trait, I guess. And that really meant that if you wanted to play that all colors, you had that really set way of playing it. I don't know, like that's really, really just flavors and I guess my own twisted take on the game.
Cool.
So yeah, no more to say about Awakened Surge.
Fine. Shall we get into what we were planning on talking about the most then? Yeah. So the Super ComBros are going to talk about Super Combos. Try saying that 10 times fast. I guess might be worth defining things. What a super combo is didn't exist set 1, although the cards existed, but the classification, the keyword didn't exist in super combos. I think we'll just say that the baseline for super combos is a 2-cost battle card that gives you 10k combo power and draw a card when it's comboed at a particular criteria, usually 4 life. Right? I mean, I'd say
4 life and specific color or trait of your leader.
But yeah, potentially some along those. I mean, some are better depending on potentially your leader or your trait. Could be 5 life Namekian, right? I mean, or it could be 4 life green, or it could be something like that. But generally, those cards are all interchangeable. You'll find something that probably matches the traits or the names and or the characters in your deck, maybe to make the super combo searchable. And there's enough of them spread out that you'll find something.
Yeah, I think it's kind of probably a good way of classifying them. I think you've got the 4 life or less ones that draw a card, and there's every variety of those you could ask for. Then there are the Sparking 5 ones, where if you've got 5 cards in your bin, you draw the card. Then you've got sort of leader kind of trait specific ones where they're 5 or less life and you draw a card. So they're basically just a straight upgrade on the 4 life or less ones in that specific deck. And that gives that specific deck a little edge. But pretty much identically they're the same, but being at 5 or less life is just better than 4 or less life when it triggers. And that was pretty much it for most of it until we got Shugesh, right? Who put a battle card into play.
Well, I mean, Shugesh was set 3. So
Set 3, yeah.
particularly deep into it.
No, and then he was banned pretty quickly, even after specific hate cards. So they were trying from the beginning to kind of vary stuff up, but I think they did Shugesh and then that didn't work out. So they stopped going back to it and just did the draw one, had the sparking one, and now in set
sorry, 8+ really.
8+, or is it just set 10? We end up getting. Set 9. We end up getting multicolored ones, which all obviously do different things, and they'll work really well with Arrival. And we've got one for each of the color pairs there. Do you think they'll do more of the, say obviously you can't do more color pairs, but do you think they'll do more versions of those? And all of those ones don't work on. It doesn't matter how much life you have, but none of them draw.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's actually quite a lot to talk about, I think, in super combos, and going into the individual ones to discuss might be worth it. I think they're definitely going to do more, and I think they're going to move away from. I think you'll still get your 4 life draw 1 10k combo, and they'll round out the traits.
Yeah, and they're still printing those, and the next set we're getting spoilers for those down from set 10.
Yeah, although slightly different there, I guess. One thing more broadly about super combos in general, I think is another example again of catch-up mechanics, right? Where you're down to 4 life, you can more easily defend or push through an attack than you could before, because obviously they only trigger at the 4 life or whatever the condition is. But there's another part that's slightly different, where some of the combos are 0+0, or 0 cost, add 0, and you only get the 10k when you're at that condition, and some which give you the 10k regardless, and you get a benefit if you're at a certain condition. I don't know if many of the 0/0s are still played, but it's slightly interesting that you could only do it when you were at the trigger condition. The former needs something you have to be at a certain level, whereas the other ones you could just forgo a benefit of drawing a card, but still get the 10k combo. And they seem to power creep that way slightly, because I don't think there are any 0/0s being printed now.
There are.
What ones are 0/0?
On the new rare cycle 1/0/0.
Let me have a look.
I think these are the ones in set 11 that have been spoiled, where you put a card on the bottom of your deck and then draw 2.
Well, I mean, fine. I've not looked particularly much at set 11, but the set 11 super combos are almost not a response to, but Paragus. Maybe we should talk about Paragus.
Yeah, I think. I guess he's a really good one to talk about in some ways. But like we're saying, they had the 4 life or less, Sparking 5 life or less in specific leaders, and then Green was just way ahead of everybody in super combo technology because they had Paragus, which was draw 2, warp 1, which is way more powerful than just draw 1.
Yeah, because you could see what you want. You could get rid of anything from your hand. Didn't have to be one of the two that you drew. Worth noting, Paragus wasn't the first card like that. There was also Hoy that only works in Herudigan. But that was pitch 1, draw 2. So again, slightly worse. You don't get to see what you get. And Helos does the same thing as well, right? Pitch 1, draw 2. And that's what those new... Are the new super combos pitch 1, draw 2? Or are they draw 1?
They're put 1 card under the bottom, draw 2.
Okay, so that's... that's arguably even stronger than Paragus, right? Than putting it to the warp. Because there's now cards that really care about what's on the bottom of your deck.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, there's another little sort of power creep from the basic ones that they had. The 10k combo draw, but they do have the conditions, right? So if you're telling me there's 0/0s,
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's 0/0s, but let me just check. I'll go and have a look at the spoilers. But
yeah, so those ones, I've seen the green and red ones.
Oh yeah, they're 0/0. So I just looked at the Krillin.
Yeah.
So if your lead card is whatever color you like, is 4 or less, and all your energy is yellow, or the same color, when this card is used in the combo, it gets plus 10k power for the battle. Then you may choose 1 card in your hand and place it at the bottom of your deck. If you do, draw 2 cards. So yeah, they are worse. They are 0/0s, and you have to have all the color the same way, which is all your energy the same color, which is a nice limiting factor. So they're a bit more niche, but in pretty much every deck, you're going to run one of these over a 4 or less life, draw 1.
Yeah. Although interestingly, they're still being printed in set 11 as well.
Yeah, which I just think is they're filling out slots for cards that don't take any effort to make.
Slots, mate, slots. But there's a whole bunch of things that are interesting about how super combos are balanced, right? Whether you at any point, what effect you get off them, and we'll talk about kind of the multicolor ones, I guess, there. When you can get that effect, or what the triggering condition is.
There's another thing, I guess, that should probably be mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, even more just before we jump onto balance, which is like we're talking about a keyword, cards, that are knowingly overpowered. Like that's one of the first things you learn when you play your first few games of Dragon Balls. Super combos are super strong. Like they make a difference in games, and if you see 3 of your super combos and your opponent only sees 1, you generally are you're generally in a better place to win the game. So like that's how strong they are, and I have to admit that's one of the first things. I've come to terms with it today, and I'm like, okay, it's 4 of them. The game is built in such a way that you can reduce a bit of variance around it, but there's no denying the fact that these super combos are just all really powerful. Even just a basic get plus 10 for 0 and draw 1. It changes the maths massively, and it changes the maths based on pure variance, whether they've actually drawn it or not. It's not whether they have energy remaining or whether they're checking something else. It's just have they drawn it. Like that's to me one of the first things that gave me kind of a pushback when I started playing the game. Like, what do you mean we have something that's pure variance related that's in the game and that's widely accepted?
I mean, card games aren't always going to be variants, but I think, like Barry said, they are catch-up mechanics, right? Once you're on 4 or less life, then they become good. Before that, they're not. And I think it stops some of the math being deterministic, which is quite nice. I think from a casual point of view, not a competitive point of view, you're like going in for a big combo and thinking, you've got 3 cards in hand, I've got 3 cards in hand, I'll play out all my, 3 combos, I'm going to definitely beat you. And then the super combo, draw out of it, that creates like a good moment because it doesn't make comboing deterministic.
I don't know. So the idea of catch-up mechanic, like it's not exactly true, right? Because in Dragon Ball, you aim to be at 4 lives so that you awaken. Like the principle of the original idea is catch-up mechanic, but in all practicalities, the fact to be on 4 life and enable your super combos is not exactly a catch-up mechanic. It's just another aspect of the game that you unlock at that point. And more deterministic. I get the idea from a casual point of view. I can relate to this. But as soon as you get a bit more competitive, which I believe most Dragon Ball players that would listen to this podcast or just be on the various Facebook groups that we can all frequent, like all these players will be in some fashion. There's a little sense of frustration. Say, well, congratulations, you played well. You played very well. You drew your super combo.
But I disagree for a number of reasons. I certainly agree that every deck's going to have maximum four super combos, right? No deck's going to not run them because, like you say, the cards are deliberately overtuned compared to other cards that do the same thing. But what Matt's saying about the non-deterministic part of the comboing, so every other 10k combo is going to cost you 1 energy. But when you're going in for that swing, taking into account, well, maybe all 3 of those cards are super combos, or maybe all 3 of them are this. So having to take it into account, even though you don't know, the bluffing element of it isn't just simply another part of the maths of the game. And yes, well, I will say what you're saying, if you've drawn them, fine, but both players should have built their deck in a way where they're going through their deck to get to the cards they need. And if the cards you need are super combos, if the cards you need are your secret rare, if the cards you need are your your bomb or your combo pieces, whatever it is, it's just another thing. I don't think that you've only got 4 of every other card as well, right? Or 1 of every other card if it's a secret rare. And if you need them to win, then what's the difference, right?
Well, if you take it from that point of view, there's no card that's overpowered. It depends on the situation and what you need to win. But the thing is, we're looking at it from a holistic point of view, and in how many situations is a card going to be useful or not. And under that lens, super combos win because they are the most useful card in the most situations. And not all, I won't say all, there will be situations where you'd rather probably see an ape or see your secret rare.
But if you didn't have those tiers of abilities type things, or those tiers of how good a card was, if every 1-cost card was a 10k combo, and if every 0-cost card was a 5k combo, we'll get on to Bibbidi, I suppose, speaking of 0-cost more than 10k combos. But the fact that there is tiers, I don't think's in any way a negative for the game. I mean, it could be, if there was other deck building restrictions around some other cards that can give you 10k for free, but which there are, you don't normally get the draw off them, but normally off a battle card as well. So it's not just super combos that can give you pretty much the same effects, but they are consistent. But again, that's mitigated by the variability of whether or not you draw them.
Yeah, and I don't think they're as important to the game as you think, Vince. I think you're saying that like the person that sees the super combos is more likely to win, but I don't like. I mean, that might be true, but in the same way that someone else that sees their better cards is more likely to win just with any kind of type of card. I don't think super combos are that impactful in the game that they make or break it.
I get your point, and I realize I might have more strongly than I should have. I don't think
that's what we're here for. You've got to have opinions, otherwise we wouldn't have a podcast.
No, of course, but I'm not saying super combos define the game. What I'm saying is they are strong, and even if they don't define it, the impact that these cards have on the outcome of the game is bigger on average than many of the other cards. While these super combos, like just being that, and it's the first time I see a game that owns, in a way, like really owns an element of it that is variance. Like in the other card games I've seen, variance was the thing that you would try to push the furthest away. As soon as you get a bit competitive, like in many card games, like you are very, very wary of anything relating to variance. And like we've all
I
played a
mean,
number of card games. Like we
I
can also
disagree
think
with
about
that, Vince, because if you look at Magic, right, it's black base and lands. Like if you don't see your lands, you just lose. Thrones,
to me, what I think
if you don't see your limited, it's a big issue. You know, like all card games have these cards that you need to see.
yeah, absolutely. But you have ways of working around this variance. Like I
In
don't
the
want to
same
take
way that
specific
combos, you can work away around super combos. Like they're not the be all and end all of the combo set either.
there's a difference where you're not limited to 4 mana in your magic deck. You're not limited to 4 resources in your Thrones deck. You're limited to 4 super combos in your DS deck. So like I get the point, and I totally understand that we can work again around it. And I mean, I embrace it today. I'm loving the game, and I'm playing with super combos 4 in each of my deck. And every time I build the deck, I'm thinking about the super combo I'm putting in it, and I'm enjoying that aspect of the building in a way as well. But it's the first game I see that really owns it to the point that gives it a keyword and it puts it on the table. It's going to be strong, and know that you don't have to put 4 in your decks, but if you want to win, you're going to have 4 in your decks anyway. Like I find it. I mean, it's a keyword that says it's not even 4 copies of a card. Like it's just you can play 4 different super combos if you want, a bit like Dragon Ball, but you just can only have 4 with that keyword. Owning it at that level, all games have variants, but putting a name on it and being like, yep, welcome guys. I hadn't seen that before.
All right. I mean, I think we could probably argue back and forth about the balance of it by having 4. Because let's say there wasn't a limit of 4 on your super combos, and there's a very strong chance that you're going to have 20 of them, right? But that would then just become the new power level, the new combo level. You would assume that every card your opponent had was 10k and drew 1.
Well, I guess that would basically become the cards you put in your deck to use as energies and super combo, right?
Well, again, super combos don't win games on their own, but
so in a deck of 50 cards, a bit like Magic, you play what, about a third of these cards just to have enough
probably,
to put in your mana and have the super combos when you want them. And in a way, you would remove variance, I guess, but yeah, that would be less fun. I totally agree with that.
Fine. Yes, they're definitely strong. Am I dreaming, or is there a card that resets the combo phase?
Sets. What do you mean? Like
after comboing, after your opponent combos, you can restart the combo phase.
And I think you're dreaming.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I mean, there's cards that get cards out of the combo area, but I'm not sure there's like a combo area sweeper.
Okay.
Can you imagine if there was one like in defense? Your opponent comes and combo 85. Come on. Well,
but that's often
try
still the case with because you don't get the combo power until the end of until you're doing the calculations. You can still remove a card that's comboed up to 85k or whatever with 1 energy, neg 15.
No, very, very true. That is very true. That is very true.
But then again, all these things are things that you have to play around when playing the game, and you have to be aware of what's in your opponent's deck and what's in your deck and what the capabilities of the cards are. And the broader those skills can be, then or those abilities can be, then the more interesting the game is. But there does need to be a level of consistency where maybe they're going to do X or Y, but they might do it in one of 3 or 4 different ways each. It's kind of the balance to strike when doing these things. But I think a card that resets the combo phase, maybe it costs 2 or something, or 3 even. You combo that in, and then your opponent gets a chance to go again or something. I don't know.
That might be fun. That might be fun. I don't know. It needs to be balanced because it seems powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, sorry, go on.
The big difference is when you attack with a leader or with a unison card. Like if someone attacks with with a 10k card and start to combo their hand out of it because like you're just on 1 life, and suddenly you go 6-star balls, boom, -10, you're dead. That's one thing. But like the sweep on a leader attack that would have been on 85, revamp go and triple strike something like that. Yeah, that seems very, very strong. I mean, as I said, I find the idea interesting. Very happy to give that to Bandai and see what they do with it.
By all means, guys.
That's another one, another
any
free
ideas
one.
we have. Well, okay, let's think about so going back to set 3 in Shigesh, what you were saying. So Shigesh was banned because you could play a 3-drop saying from hand, which ended up just being way too strong with the swap chains as well at the time. I think that was set 3. I wasn't playing during set 3, I started set 4, so I don't 100% know what the problem was, but they printed, like you said, a silver bullet. But even that wasn't enough, right? Ended up getting banned, just too strong. But from that same set, you had Kibito Kai, which removes a combo card. So obviously, mostly useful on the defense. But if you did it on the offense, then if there was no cards there, you got a draw. And that's the same for both. So, I mean, that was the first, like I said, that was the first set where they did something a little bit different.
Yeah, and I think also you had the Android 16 one as well. That's set 3, and the opponent puts a card on the bottom instead of you drawing one.
Yep. But again, interesting there that red and black were just basic. Well, the Kai was sparking, although sparking didn't exist at the time, but sparking from your warp, which is probably going to become another keyword at some point. But weird that, blue, yellow, green got something different. Red gets their basic Giru 4-life draw, and Kai, black got their first super combo there. 5 cards in your warp to trigger.
Yeah, I think balancing the super combos is definitely something they need to consider, and like Vincent sort of said, like if there is disparity between super combos, then I think it pushes a colour above the others. Like they are important to the game, but they're not the be all and end all. And so, in some ways, I don't like it when every faction gets the same thing, the same effect. But it is the easiest way to sort of balance the colours, especially when it comes to super combos, which all decks are playing 4 of. And I think that's, you talked about Barbady earlier, and I think that's one thing that people are crying out about black. All your energy has to be black and your leader has to be black. But you get the payoff for that is a super combo, which can go up to plus 30k for nothing, which is, unblockable by any other colour.
Yeah, you got everything. There's some. Maybe we should save Bibbidi to talk about whether it's should be banned or whatever till the very end.
Yeah.
But I guess that would then put us on the multicolored cards to be talked about independently. So we've said what super combos kind of do: get a bonus, combo power, and draw a card almost universally. But then we've got the multicolored set, which came in with 9. Did you say, or was it 8?
It's 9. That's the multicolour ones.
Fine. Do we just go through them?
We can quickly. Like it's only 6 of them. They all are
so
color wheels.
Blue, yellow, Zamasu, Neil, a card. Red, green, Nappa it comes into play at the end, so you can sort of play it again in another combo step. Red.
I feel like people could look up the cards if they wanted, Matt. They're here for the bants.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we said go through them.
One at a time?
Yeah, but we can talk about them all. I mean, sure. Okay, well, we can talk about them individually.
Yeah, if you're coming back to them anyway, just might as well do them one at a time. So you started on Zamasu.
Cut this down.
Cut this nonsense out. No, there's no editing. This is raw. This is Dragon Ball Raw. Dragon Ball Live. We could do a live stream one night.
That'd be fun.
Right. Back on it. Okay, so the multicolour ones. Let's start with blue, yellow. Zamasu. When you play it, it kneels a card. Oh,
so
sorry.
Neil's a battle card or a leader
which switches a card to exhaust mode.
Yeah. I tried to do it with energy earlier, but apparently that's not what the card says. So also gives you the 10k combo, so it still gets you out of something. And potentially good aggro killer. Prevents another card swinging.
Yeah, I think this is sort of a big one for blue and yellow decks at the moment. Like most of them are running maybe one or two of these, if not more. Yeah, really good one.
Yeah, I mean, I think yellow's got so much good stuff for if you kneel a card, you get a bonus as well. Like that sort of
Rest a
kneeling
card,
support.
yeah.
Rest a card, yeah. And the fact it's not quite topo level in terms of shutting down a turn, but you can out combo the attack that's coming in. You can rest a card to prevent another attack coming, and you can effectively shut down 2 attacks with 1 super combo, whereas previously you would only be able to combo out with the one that was hitting you at the time, right?
Yep.
It's definitely one of the better multicolor super combos, right? Like it's probably top 2.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's the best one. I think it's the one that does the most unique thing out of all of these.
And it's the most painful when you're on the other side of it, right? If your leader gets knelt before you've swung,
yeah,
I
was about to come to this. Yeah,
very sad.
I'm happy with it being the best. There might be a slight contention with Android 18, which we can come on to after if need be. I guess Android 18 might be more situational, like might go in less decks in a way.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about Android 18s and the support for it, but the Zamasu makes an interesting choice for what I was saying earlier about a deck could do X or Y in 3 or 4 different ways. When you go in for an attack against a player with yellow, if you don't swing with your leader first, you might get Zamasu to miss out on a draw. If you do swing with your leader first, you might get Nimbus and lose out on future attacks. So the choice there and understanding your opponent's decks, quite an interesting one to my mind. But on the other hand, it does mean that until you see what the deck does, there's no right answers. You can never be sure that you want to swing with a battle card first or swing with your leader first until you know what they've got. And the thing is that they could be running both, so there might be no right answers. But it's a very good super combo. Trading the card draw for the effect that it has is well worth it in my mind. What was the
18?
second one? Yeah, Android 18. Yes, that's blue-green, right?
Yeah, blue-green. When you combo with it, you get plus 10k, and your opponent chooses 1 card in the hand and puts it in the bottom of the deck. Which is good. You know, it's effectively the same card advantage as a draw would be, but your opponent chooses their worst card in their hand and puts it on the bottom, so it's kind of... Is that better card advantage than you just seeing the top card of your deck? And I think most of the time it isn't, but then this is where I think this isn't as good as Zamasu, because Zamasu is just good, but the green-blue one, Android 18, is only good if you've got other effects that also affect the hand. Like, if you just put 4 of these in a deck that didn't have any other hand destruction, it wouldn't be better than a draw 1 combo.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I do agree. I think Zamasu is better in most situations. And as you said, Android 18 needs to be put in the right deck to really have that of impact, even if it's just 1 card, the worst in your hand, and all that jazz.
Yeah, I mean, the support for it. There, obviously, hand destruction decks exist, and it slots into there perfectly and could get you the luck when other super combos wouldn't. So definitely got a place, definitely a card worth considering for those kind of decks. With the ever increasing card pool, a lot more care about what's on the bottom of the deck. I think we said earlier, and this would actually possibly be a negative for this in some sets, or against a cooler red-blue cooler deck,
or new margin Vegeta. You know, they'll just put their 3 cost Vegeta on the bottom, and then
they can get
play it for 1.
So interesting trade-off there, but definitely got a place. What's the
other? I think the next one that sees play is probably Napper. Red green. If you learn the card as red or green at the end of the battle in which you combo with this card, from your hand, you play it. So it goes to the drop and then you play it. So you can trigger things like
Healing
Freeze's
pod.
Army Healing Pod, which is
Yep.
quite nice. You get the draw one, and I think this is a bit of a weird one because it kind of plays itself twice, right? You play it once, and then you get another card,
Yeah.
and then you can combo with it again. But also, it's a battle card on the board for other effects. It can sit there, but then it sitting on the field means it is vulnerable to removal. So it is a bit of a trade-off.
Absolutely. I mean, and yeah, I guess I had forgotten a bit about Nappa. Bad of me because I've played against enough Brody Surge to that I should know of Nappa straight out. But yeah, it's a really good card, exactly for what you say. It's basically 2 super combos in a way, because you get +10 twice. You don't get the card, but yeah, there's a sense of card advantage there. And on top of it, you get the double trigger for arrival, one then another if need be.
Yeah.
That's like one battle then the next. It's definitely really, really potent if just for that.
I think I like the design of this one the most. I feel like Android 18, like you said, can be a bit NPE, with the amount of hand destruction there is. I think there's a massive one. I think it's just really powerful. I think it's got the most powerful. Whereas I think Nappa is, you give it the draw, but it comes into play, then it makes it vulnerable. And like you said, you get the double arrival triggers. You kind of get a double super combo.
It's much more flexible, and
Yeah.
there are support cards for it. So like you say, Broly Surge, when you combo, get a draw. So that turns it into a normal super combo, and then you get a 10k body, which you could then combo again. And because, like you say, it does hit the drop, you could also play strategies around Frieza's Army Healing Pods. So let's say you play that out of Surge Broly, suddenly you're getting draw 2, 10k combo, 10k body. You couldn't build a deck around this super combo almost. And it's just got that level of flexibility. Maybe you don't need a second super combo. Maybe you need a 10k body for a swing. Your opponent thinks you're tapped out. You've done your overwhelm for the turn. Your opponent's like, I'll just take this punch, no problem. Puts them into kill range. You drop in the Nappa, and you've got other combos in your hand to push it through.
Works nicely with Liquor. You need to have a red or green battle card on the field. Just put one into play for free. Nice. Next one. Beerus, red-blue one. If you can lead cards red or blue, and it's your opponent's turn, when you combo this card from your hand, choose up to one of your red-blue multicolor energy and switch your tactical mode. This is quite similar to the Trunks that got banned, which standard energy.
Children, yeah.
Which I think this one is probably one of the less good ones, I think.
Well, I mean, it's kind of helped support Invoker a bit, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you standard multicolor energy, which is pretty strong, but
because it's blue, right? So once you can stand one energy for free, you can stand all your energy.
Yeah.
So it really enables a lot of blue strategies, particularly blue defensive strategies. If you can survive that first attack by using the 10k combo power, suddenly you turn on your beans, your sensory beans. You turn on your other counter plays, your other counter attacks. Your opponent thinks, okay, well, I can have a poke, and then I'll make, can come in with the finisher. But suddenly you've got the energy to negate that attack that you didn't have before. And
I think this is the one, like you said, it supports defensive strategies, and I think you are giving up a good amount of offense running it, because running a super combo and then not getting any benefit whilst you're on the attack, that seems like a big price.
Yep. Yeah.
It's one of the most underwhelming ones for me. Like, it's good, but to be good or to be better in a way, you need other cards to really enable it. Granted, once you've enabled it, it can become strong, mainly in defense. I don't know. I'm not ecstatic. The most I think about, the most interesting things I can think about when it comes about this card is the arrivals that would come with it.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about your rival bit at the end. Just because it applies to all of them.
Yeah,
for sure.
So Whis, if you lead a card as red or yellow, when you combo with this card from your hand, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and it gets minus 10,000 power for the duration of the turn. So this one gives you a 20k swing when you play it, a bit like Napa, right? But the minus 10k power can remove a battle card or, you know, and it's minus 10k for the turn. So defensively against triple attack or dual attacks, it's pretty strong. I think it's become a lot weaker now that we also have unisons because it can only target battle cards.
Absolutely. And now I feel silly because after Napa I had forgotten that one as well. It's probably too late for my brain. That being said, yeah, really strong. I played it a bit in a couple of decks, and as you said, it's when you need it, it can be a 20k swing, which like gets you out of a lot of troubles. Often, like there will be a lot of double or triple strikes that your opponent thought would be good. Then you just spend that plus another card and you're out of it. That makes a big difference.
And you can also split it across, so you can plus 10k on one attack, give another battle card minus 10k, so they can't then swing with that, which is kind of like Zamasu, but a weaker version of it.
Absolutely.
I think it's a split between the Napa and the Zamasu. Again, good utility. I would think you would hate this card, Vince, for being the sort of the epitome of swings. You know, you've comboed in, you've spent 2 energy, you put in 4 cards, and I've put in 2 cards and out comboed you. You know.
I mean, that's my reflection around most super combos, and this one really goes far. But once you've accepted it, like you just embrace it, isn't it?
Fine. And you saved the worst for last.
I don't know. I don't know. I think Beerus is. No, actually, no. This is worse than Beerus, isn't it? In some ways. Dr. Jiro, Progenitor of Terror. When you combo with this card from your hand, choose up to 1 green or yellow battle card with energy cost of 4 or less from your deck, place it in your drop area and shuffle your deck. So you don't get any sort of like card advantage. You're not drawing. It doesn't have any more combo power or anything. And all you get is a card in your drop. I mean, you've got to specifically want something in your drop.
And that's the other thing about all the like yellow green Android text, isn't it? Like it wants things in the drops, and this enables it. So like you see where it fits, but even when it fits there, you feel like you're struggling a bit. Arrival, okay, that's one thing. We'll talk about that in a sec. But yeah, like even when you play it, you're like, yeah, I got my 10k, I got out, I got a card in the drop. Is that enough? Like, it's not the same as a card in hand.
No. Right. Even if you're putting an ape in the bin, you know, I guess it's like a little bit of deck thinning. It is an all deck tutor for something. So if you can play that thing from the discard pile, then
there's the odd tempo of it as well, because most of the times you will want to keep your super combos for a bit later in the game when they will when the big swings will come at you. But this one, you kind of want to play it early so that you can enable your deck quicker. So like, there are a few a bit it's a bit odd with this one.
I think it's slightly interesting in its design space. There's more and more things being played from the drop. This can only get better, but it's not good enough. I think the Cell deck, Cell Surge Leader in particular, because we were saying you want to play it later on, but with the Surge Leaders and being able to awaken at any life, you don't always mind playing a super combo earlier on to save a life if it was a big critical hit or something. But it's just very underwhelming, and the cards that it was designed to support aren't strong enough, really. And you wouldn't take this over a different super combo to play the cards that are strong from the drop. So I don't know, just a bit lackluster.
Yeah, and
not only a bit more than that.
So I think as we sort of talked about Arrival, all of these will give you a bit of card advantage in that they're just one card that allows Arrival. And before these came out, because all the multicolored cards cost 1 energy to combo, apart from the Raditz, and that gave red green arrival a bit of an edge, but now everywhere has access to it. It just makes arrival a little bit easy to pull off. So whilst they don't draw a card, they do give card advantage because you're not spending 2 cards to trigger arrival. So if your deck's arrival heavy, you kind of offset that.
Agreed.
Absolutely, and that's one of the key things about these super combos, isn't it? Like, really just enabling rival is super good. So yeah, it's that I realize I'm wondering if my mind just blanked a bit, but have we talked about the fact that there's no other condition than having a leader of a color for these super combos?
Okay.
You don't need to be on
I guess
4
we didn't talk about life totals.
The fact that so these super combos by colors no need to be on 4 lives or less or 5 lives or less, and you can just play them, get your often impactful guy out for a cheap price. That's the concept about Arrival, isn't it? Reference previous episodes. But yeah, like to me that's the most appealing thing. It doesn't save everything. For example, the Dr. Gero that we just talked about is not saved by the fact that you can Arrival green yellow more easily. But for the ones that are really good about, like the Zamasu one, the Vegeto deck that did well at GetCon was basically playing that Zamasu, 4 apes, and the Goku and Hit Arrival. That's all. And the fact that super combos allows it, enables it, is just crazy when you think about it. Like, you just have like 8 cards plus the other copies of your Arrival card to get your condition, your cost, I don't know how to call it, to get it met, and then you can play Arrival. Like, this is really, really cool.
Fine. We done with the multicolors?
Yeah, we're going to move on to the set 10 ones, I think.
Well, I think there's one other set 9 card that we need to talk about for super combos. Let's save that for the end.
We talked about it a bit, right?
Yeah, but it's the most exciting one, right?
Do you think so? Okay, so let's talk about set 10 ones. So we've got Zeno.
Before we go into set 10, just the interesting thing about set 10 is every other super combo is a 2-cost battle card, apart from 3 cards. So there's Plucky Dynasty Pan, which was 4-cost and part of the swap chain, and it was very weird that it was a super combo. Now set 4, it was a bit less risky putting cards into play, and swap will get it back to your hand. Even then, it was a very mediocre part of the chain, but it was weird that was an experiment for the super combos. I think it was maybe set 4. But the things about these 4 costs, and there's 2 3 costs. What's the big Namekian Guru? And there's a Bojack card, I think, 3 costs. But they avoid. The only reason I can see for them being different, and not even a reason for it, but something interesting about them, is that it avoids the Raditz secret rare.
Yeah.
Because ordinarily when you're comboing in cards that cost 2, which would include almost every other super combo, or would include every other super combo apart from those 3, Raditz can get rid of it, but these ones would hang around, but just very weird. But new set 10 ones are the first 1-drops. And interesting that they do something very, very different when they're played, almost like they're designed to be played, right?
Yeah, which is really good. That's, again, I think they got into a pretty stale super combo space, and then set 10 they went, oh, actually, we can do all these really interesting things with them, and they can do an interesting thing whilst combo, but also an interesting thing whilst you play. And then a bit like Nappa, right? You've got to, once it's in play, it becomes vulnerable, and then you're sort of, that trade-off is, are you going to play this or just keep it in your hand for the super combo? It just adds a nice little bit of decision making. Really good.
So what are the cards in set 10?
So we've got Zeno. So when you play him, you draw a card. It costs 1. If your life is at 5 or less, when you and it's your opponent's turn, when you combo its card, you may add 1 card from your energy to your hand. If you do, place 1 card from your hand in your energy. I think a few cards we've had swap your energy around from your hand to your energy area, and none of those have really seen much play, even though it's quite an interesting and unique fact, because you can put cards in that you don't want early in the game in NG, swap them out later on in the game, and then you'll have access to your big finishers, which other sort of decks can't really do. So it adds a little bit of advantage that way. Yeah, I really like this one. I think it's pretty interesting. I don't think it's super powerful, but I think it kind of gives you a nice little bit of flexibility and sort of interesting decisions.
To me, it suffers from the same downfall that the blue-red DBS super combo suffers from. Like, it's really only effective during your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
And although I agree, I find it interesting. I'm sure there are cool things to do with it. I find it hampers it quite noticeably.
Yeah, I mean, being able to stand on energy for free on the defense in blue is a strong ability. Like, if any other color, fine, but out of blue, I think it's particularly interesting. But
I think out of any other color, it'd be a lot stronger, right? Because it'd be a lot more unique. Whereas in blue,
there's so many standards.
There's a repeat there, yeah.
But blue's somewhat balanced around. You know that you're going to be able to get your energy back up, whether your leader stands 3 or whether you've got Senzu Beans or whatever. But yeah, putting that down early doors for the draw, which is like a normal super combo, but like I say, leaves it vulnerable. Same with all of these ones, leaves it vulnerable.
But I definitely think it's like between
can
this
be an enabler.
Between this and a 4 life or less draw one, I see there's a decision to be made. In deck building, I wouldn't just put 4 of these because they're just straight up better. I'd have to sort of have a good reason to.
Yeah, you'd have to be playing a deck that it supports an archetype that's underrepresented at the moment.
Yeah.
Whether that's Boo energy swap or Zamasu energy swap or Vegito energy swap, something along those lines.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
To Vegeta, that's a pretty easy one. If your lead card is mono green, when you play this card, your opponent chooses 1 card in the hand and discards it. So that's when you play it, and then when you combo it, it's if you're 4 or less life, draw a card. So it's got the standard super combo, but then it's got this added discard effect. But again, once you play it out, it becomes vulnerable and they don't get the super combo, and I think you are trading a reasonable amount.
Do you think so? Like, I guess the question when you play green is whether you go Paragus or Vegeta, right?
Yeah.
And depending on where your deck leans, you'll go more one or the other. And I have to admit,
18 as well is also worth considering.
Yeah.
I don't think this is better than 18. I think it's probably about the same.
Well, I think this is a nice splash for a green deck that isn't focused on hand destruction, because being able to choose when you play the Vegeta to enable the Goku, for example, that comes out when your opponent pitches a card, it's kind of an in-between, right? It definitely supports a hand destruction archetype, but it could also be splashed in green to support a couple of other cards to come out quickly.
I find the Vegeta really, really good. Again, recency bias having played this weekend and it being legal, of course. I've played against. I've played 5 games against Ginyu decks, so I've seen a decent bit of Vegeta. But yeah, I find it really strong. Like the ping of you technically don't lose card advantage because you play a card that's still into play and your opponent loses 1 straight away. And most of the time, of course, it's not going to be always, and your opponent's going to be cognizant of that and going to try to get rid of it before you can actually get the +1. But very often, you're going to be able to use the Vegeta to get the +1 and get the whole benefits. It's true, you use 1 energy for this. Often, there will be times in a game where you can spare 1 energy for Vegeta, and that's going to be fine.
I think this is a good one where they balance the effect of the card by giving it the super combo, right? Because I think if you just had a battle card that was play it and they discard 1, I think there's the Goku that works with the tournament of World Tournament 1, and then there's the Topper, which is obviously U11 only, and you can only triggers once. But I think they did a good job here of restricting this effect to super combo only, so you are giving up that super combo slot for this.
Yep. Decent card. And yeah, like I say, in terms of balance, they've explored an interesting space with it.
Next one.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing about it can't be played from other areas, so they did a good job of making sure you can just keep cycling it around. Bulma. So when you play it, it has an activate main. Once per turn, choose one of your mono red battle cards or unison cards and gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. And then also, if your lead card is red and you and your opponent have a total of 8 or less life, so that's combined, when this card is used in a combo, draw one card, then if your turn, choose up to one red earthling card with an energy cost of 1 in your hand and play it. That's a lot of stuff. And I think this is the strongest one.
I like Vegeta, but yeah, I understand. Like Bulma, Vegeta and Bulma are the two standout super combos of the set for me.
Yeah, I mean, what we're saying about Nappa in terms of utility, this is there as well, and certainly the repeated use for pushing your battle cards or unison cards up to a level your opponent doesn't want to defend against is useful. In the Pilaf deck in particular, obviously very strong. If you can give 5k combo or 5k power to your unison as well as triple attack, that can be kind of push it through, and then you can super combo it away. And then getting the enablers out, your 1-drop red earthlings from hand when you combo into it is also a strong effect. Now, obviously, there's a limited number of red earthlings, but again, enable some kind of decks and will continue to be.
Yeah,
will only get better, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the context of set 10, which means basically the Pilaf or Yamcha decks, it's very potent. And Matt, you're going to Nessie this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a decent bit of Bulma there. But yeah, it's really in that meta. If you think of wider than that, the red earth thing is actually fairly restrictive. That also means that if you really want to get an advantage, you need to play 1-cost cards. There's a number of restrictions on the card that makes it work to me really in these very specific environments. I don't know if it's going to be a card that's going to be worth it further than that. That being said, the other two interesting aspects are you don't trigger her when you're on 4 lives or less. It's the accumulation of yours and your opponent lives to 8 that allows you to trigger it, which means that you can be at an advantage. You could have been very aggro, be on 6 and your opponent just on 2 or even 5-3. And still get the bonus to keep it going. I find that interesting. I don't know of many decks that will use it, but maybe the Yamcha if there's any burn deck, proper Dragon Ball burn deck about this. And the second aspect being the plus 5k. I haven't seen anyone in a Pilaf deck taking advantage of it. But,
I think the Bulma deck be good in Bulma as well. So the super combo will be good in the Bulma deck, sorry. Where you can drop a card, it becomes a blocker.
Yeah, I guess so, even more because you don't so need to draw. I guess you draw anyway. You're right. The Bulma deck.
But it's interesting that this one gives energy advantage. The only other ones that do that are the Zeno and Beerus, and they're both can only be used defensively to get the energy. Whereas this one, you get 1 energy, right? If you trigger the condition, it gives you an energy as well as a card draw. That's really powerful. That's more powerful than most of the other super combos, I think, whilst comboing. And I think Vince, you're saying, Earthling is restrictive, but there's plenty of 1-drop Earthlings that just have a little minor benefit that you just drop and, they draw another card, and then this ends up being a draw 2 plus 15k combo.
Yeah, absolutely. Draw 2.
Yeah, because there's things like a Russian Warrior Pan. There's the
blanket skills, right?
There's a few like that. There is one when you play it, they draw a card, and then you can combo with them.
Okay, I guess then the question is, if you play red, what super combos do you play? She's a bit like Paragus, I guess. And to your arguments that I think are very relevant, she can become kind of a cornerstone of the super combos in red, next to the Nappa probably, which finds its place in any red deck, whether you play a rival or not. So and maybe the Whis, I guess.
Yeah, Well, I said Matt managed to cunningly outplay me with this super combo earlier tonight. I could never get the advantage because we were always on more than 8 life until he was dead.
That's how you do it. I mean, you still get a plus 10. Plus 10.
I still get the plus 10, but yeah.
Yeah.
9 life until we're dead. So very clever, Matt. Very clever.
And that's what was playing around the super combo. And then the last one, Counterblast Sun Gohan. So when you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and switch to rest mode. Nice. Solid effect. And then if your leader card is yellow and your life is at 4 or less, when this card is used in a combo, choose one, draw one card. Or during your turn, if your opponent has 5 or more cards in rest mode, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards within a cost of 5 or less in rest mode and KO it. This is an odd one, I think, for me, because why would you ever, unless you can tutor for it, there's no reason in yellow now to run if you're 4 or less life, draw one, because this does that, and then also has another mode, which is relevant some of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the flexibility there kind of built in just makes it strictly better.
Yeah, unless you can tutor for it, it's just better than a 4 draw one, right?
Yeah, which is at least half of the super combos.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other yellows that would let you draw, 5 or less life or other triggering conditions, but it's also a Saiyan and an Earthling, which are both very common traits to be tutored for, so it's not like it's a hard one to find other than just drawing it. So yeah, I mean, I think it will see. I don't think it's that interesting overall. I don't think the other abilities are super overtuned or anything. It's quite interesting that all the colours do the stuff in their colour wheel. Right?
Yeah, it's free removal as well, right? I mean, it's quite conditional, but it is free removal.
Yeah.
It's free removal while you win a battle.
Yeah.
On top of it.
Well, if you're attacked by a 5-drop,
no, you have to.
It's only during your turn. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because otherwise, that would be bust. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I think that would probably replace the Zamasu, whereas now it's currently competing with Zamasu, and I think it's probably.
Well, something had to, right?
Yeah, it's probably nearly good enough to do it. Like, there's definitely a reason why I would choose this over the Zamasu, but.
Yeah. So anyway, interesting that they've done something new with super combos, right?
Yeah, which I think when they brought out the set 11 stuff, I was kind of disappointed that we've just had more of the 4 or less life draw ones that common, and then we've got put a card under the bottom and draw 2, which is good. I think it's quite good that all the colours have access to that. But because the traditional super combos have been pushed out because of ones like this and the set 9 multicolour ones. But it'd be kind of nice to have a bit more variety, because I think all of these add a really interesting bit of deck building. Like, there's definitely reasons to run these over the multicolour ones and multicolour ones over these, and it'd be nice to have more choice, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, if they kind of dial it back for a set and then, or maybe even 2 sets, and then come back with something interesting again, that's fine. I mean, super combos. It's interesting that they're restricted to 4, but it's kind of part of what Vince is saying there. If they become increasingly overtuned, then it ruins part of the other game. So the balance there of what they can try and do obviously has to be tested quite heavily.
Yeah.
So falling back on what they know is good, 4 life, draw a card, 10k combo is generally fine. I mean, I wasn't upset there wasn't a huge amount of variety in choosing your super combos. I just felt like this is part of your deck, but I'm happy that they're opening it up to more and more options. And
I think I'd like to see more of the Vegeta kind of style, where it's just like a 1-drop with a benefit, but you're also kind of giving up your super combo slot for that.
Yeah. Interesting to see what they do. Right, we've definitely got one more super combo to talk about, but there's another anomaly in the super combos from the World Martial Arts Tournament. I doubt anybody's seen it. The card was Mighty Mask. I don't know if anybody's remembered it. I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure that art's been reused on other cards in the same.
They're very similar, aren't they? The Mighty Mask.
The Mighty Mask ones, yeah. The Powers Combined Mysterious Warrior. So Powers Combined. And that, as written, was very interesting, but as functionality, bit different. So you could pitch a card and you can fetch two very specific cards from your deck. So a Red Trunks Youth and Sun Goten, 15k or less. Now, obviously we talked about Jiro there being a bit underwhelming, puts it straight to your drop, but obviously Mighty Mask enables, well, it didn't really enable much, right? I don't know what the fusion was or the Patara was or whatever that Trunks Youth and Sun Goten did in the martial arts tournament. But being able to fetch a specific card was an interesting design space for super combos, I think. And I don't know if we'll see any more of it in the future. But it's the kind of thing that could really push decks that struggle. The same way, we've got traits enable you to use your super combos at like 5 life or less rather than 4 life. It would be something that could support archetypes and deck styles that don't necessarily have that support, although might become a little bit niche. Obviously, Mighty Mask being so niche, you'll never see it.
Vince has run it.
Yeah, I did run it, and in the red-yellow.
Why didn't that surprise me?
To Godhood, was it?
The Bulma deck, yeah.
Yeah, the Bulma Path to Godhood deck, and yeah, it's fun. Like, it gets you cards. The card advantage is technically still there. You have to drop 1 to get 2.
Yep.
But what I found interesting about that card as well is that it's part of that series in World Martial Arts Tournament where super combos had 0 combo power, and it's only when you reach that 4 lives or less that it gets the plus 10k.
Yeah.
And that meant that card that you technically would want to play early because, you want to get your Goten and Trunks. Well, actually, if you play it early, you get no combo power out of it. And that was an interesting dilemma to have to play with.
Of course, because you want the cards early, but you don't want a combo until you're at the condition. I mean, that card's been errated. You know that's been errated because the way it's written was you would pick a Sun Goten and Trunks Youth and add them to your hand. And theoretically, if your opponent was playing 1-drop red Sun Gotens and Trunks Youth, you would take them. Obviously, it meant that you would go fetch them from your deck. That's not how it was written. But that would be much more, that'd be much more interesting as a
it's
card.
fairly implicit, I guess.
It's not what it says though, Vince, is it?
I know. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like picking on the wording of things.
I guess there's another one to talk about as well before we talk about the one you want to talk about, Barry.
We're talking about the big one. If you've got something else that's more
Slug, right? From Agents of Destruction.
Oh, of course, yeah, new.
New one. So he is plus 10k, but he doesn't have a combo effect. He only has an effect once he's played out on the battlefield, which is when your opponent triggers a counter play ability, they have to discard 2 cards from the hand. So this is a pretty unique one in that in the combo it's plus 10k, but that's it. But then it has this pretty powerful and unique effect when it's in play. And it's unique as well, so you can't put more than one of them out. But it has no protection, so it makes it you're playing out your super combos, making them vulnerable, so you might not get a chance to combo with them. But it really can stop your opponent sort of counter playing stuff.
Well, it's a very heavy counterplay meta, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again a very good example of the variety they're trying to bring to the super combo aspect of the game. I do think it will be interesting to see where they land, because like super combo can't become the reason that cards can be overtuned. Like, there's only 4 of them in the deck, so that's fine. That can't be that. Like they need to keep it in check somehow. And I'm sure they will, and they certainly are thinking about that a lot more than I am. I mean, they have experience in design. I just play cards. Yeah, like that's one of the things. I'm like, yeah, I like they try. I like the variety. I'm just also mindful of like the how to call it, the rabbit hole that this can become.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to watch out for. Also expanding these effects, but it's quite nice that they're making super combos not just be about the combo, but also like you have to play it to have an effect.
Well, I mean, the clue's in the name, super combos. I wanted to stay about the combos. But I would think that this variety is more interesting for you, Vince, thinking, it kind of spreads out the variance of the power, no? That if it does something different than just gives you a...
I mean, I'm all up for variety, and as I said, I welcome it. I'm just also saying, and they should test it. Like if they don't test it, they don't know, and that's by testing and making mistakes that you learn. So, and they've proven that they are reactive with mistakes that they can have made in the past. So, like, there's no real cause for concern. That's just me being moaning about a game owning its variance aspect, I guess.
Wow. Let's get on to variance then, shall we? So, if you thought a 20k super combo was good, how about Bibbidi? I should probably bring it up, right?
Yeah. I think, well, before you read it, just doing the maths on this card is the most annoying bit of it. It's not user-friendly, right? There's so many times where you just go, right, a combo, Bibbidi, right, next thing. Has everyone move on with their lives?
I mean, Vince, this must be your most hated card in the game, right? Because not only is it massively swingy based on drawing the card, having cards in your drop and warp, it's also what you hate about the X, value X, where it depends on something else to what its power is.
So it's very cool that you mention it, because it's very true. Like, it accumulates a number of things I'm not keen on, and still, I guess because I've only played against it in a game I've only played against it when it was in decks that were already overtuned. The fact that this was on top of it would just affected me less. Today, if I was to replay against more black decks, I haven't played against Vijix decks in a month now. Probably just a stroke of luck or something like that. So yeah, if I was to play against the game today, maybe I would feel it more. Like getting for 0 cost plus 20k of combo, or 25 or 30 is quite the swing effect. Even if you don't get the card advantage from it, the decks in which it's played have so much ways around card advantage that like it's kind of irrelevant.
But it is card advantage in a way, right? Just that amount of combo power is worth a lot of cards.
Exactly. On top of it, yeah, that really adds to this combo, to this.
So yeah, I mean, we were talking about the math of the combo. This just takes that out. It's like this hit's going through.
So if all your energy is black, when you combo with this card from your hand, this card gets plus 1,000 combo power for the duration of the turn for each card in your drop area and warp, and it's 3,000 combo to start off with. So you need seven cards in your drop or warp to get up to 10, and then anything beyond that, it's huge.
Yeah. And Vegx can get there turn 1, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly that.
I mean, I don't think it's particularly unusual for this not to be 25.
Yeah, by the time you use it, you're doing it just before you flip through your deck. You've got 40 cards in your drop. It's a 40k combo, and you're pushing through for that double strike to win.
Yeah. And on top of it, the decks in which it's played will recur them, will do them again, like, because of course they go in the drop, then they come back in the deck and they'll be drawn again. Like it's really good.
Yeah, so I don't have loads to say on this apart from I haven't played against it much, but it's just I don't like the maths on it, and I think it's too strong, really.
I mean, I've not hated playing against it. I'm knowing that it's there, knowing that it's coming. And there are other ways to potentially play around it slightly. But in the Boo deck that was effectively made for in set 9, it's an enabler for that deck, and it kind of works. It's not too bad because you have to pitch your hand. You can't keep a hold of it.
Yeah.
You even if you draw it, you have to use it that turn, kind of thing. You can't save it for that killing blow. There is some variance as to whether you draw it on the turn that you need it. The difficult part, though, is when it's used in other black decks and what space it actually restricts black decks, and then whether you do that for black as a whole color or whether you do it for this super combo makes me think that, certainly Bandai's got to consider getting rid of this before set 11.
Yeah, it definitely, looking at it when it's like, if all your energy is black, right, if you're playing a black deck, you don't really want to be splashing a colour because giving up this super combo is a big cost.
Yeah.
Like you just want to play mono black because you don't want to charge. If you charge another colour, you've just lost a lot of combo power. So whilst you might play Champer, the double strike, you're not going to be playing any non-black battle cards.
Yeah, you're not going to be putting any energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just super strong. I think from what I've seen, Bandai's options are restrict to 1 or ban cards. I think there's possibly other solutions with this card, and I don't know whether they'll consider them or not.
I think a Rata Taboo only would be nice.
Well, that's it. Well, either restrict to Evil Wizard / Majin, but even if they restricted it to a non-Saiyan, I think with what Black's got at the moment, and then they could revisit whether they want to ban it totally or further the restrictions. I think at the moment restricting it to non-Saiyan would take it out of the problem decks.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the erratas that are there for balance more than explanation. Like there are erratas that are there because no, of course, guys, what we meant was this, more than like, yeah, no, that's overpowered in there, so let's just tweak it so that it doesn't work in the same way. I'd be really on the cups of just ban it, be done with it, give it another print if you want with a different wording. Like give it print the Babidi Primeval Conjurer, the son of it, and make it the actual right version of it. That'd be fun.
Yeah, fine. I mean, there's definitely ways. I think Babidi on its own could carry some black decks that are underpowered at the moment. Even if Demigra gets some support, or is getting some support in sort of set 11. Some of the other black cards are definitely not leaders you see, and it would make some of those decks viable, but the fact that relying on those super combos to do so is a bit...
It's relying on variance, and that's not what you want to do.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. It's, are you giving up enough in black by playing black alone's power level to make up for having access to this? Like in the card pool, is black behind the other colours because it is black and therefore can't have the power of coloured cards?
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's true for one thing, but like.
Well, black in set 11 is now becoming a colour, right?
Yeah. It is basically.
Specified cost.
I think now it basically is a colour.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that argument really holds much weight for me. That black was sort of behind another thing, so they need to make up for it with the best super combo, and that makes its identity.
But what if, right? What if? What if the philosophy is, if everything's broken, nothing is broken? What if we give all the other colours a Babidi?
Oh no!
What if blue got 5k plus 2k for every energy?
Yeah.
Yellow for cards in rest modes. Green...
cards in opponent's drop area.
Well, it can't be drop area because that would be like. I mean, it could be, I suppose, but what if it was extra for fewer cards in hand? I mean, you'd have to have a limit on that.
Okay, like, we've
And red?
avoided the plus. We've avoided the +6. Let's not do that again. Like,
These ideas. We're giving them for free. Hire us as consultants.
excellent.
Boom. But I think, is there any other super combos we've not covered or anything else about super combos that we want to talk about?
One aspect of it in set 10 is all the new old school super combo that came out in each color. Like the classic, if your leader is red and you have 4 life or less, draw 1 card.
Yeah.
And the fact that these combos this super combos technically already existed, albeit with probably different characters and different eras. And does it point towards a rotation at some point? Like all the others are going to disappear, so we need to kind of safe-proof the card pool with the basic super combo cards in it?
I think that'd be reading into it a bit, maybe too much. I think it's more likely that they just go, right, let's just put super combos in these slots. We don't have to design cards, right?
Okay, fair play.
I just think they're just padding out sets because it's a CCG. The commons and uncommons don't matter. It's only the rares and secret rares that matter, or super rares.
Well, for sales, but
so like the rest of the set, they just don't need to design. Like it's the same with the vanilla cards. Like what 20k skillless vanilla cards, 30k ones. We've already got them. They're putting them in sets to pad them out.
I mean, I would say rather than pad them out, round them out, right? I mean, if you rely on Saiyan cards, skillless Saiyan cards, having a yellow one, 220 is different from having a 220 yellow Earthling or a 220 yellow monster or whatever's coming out, right? I think it just potentially enables future decks. But yeah, I would say it's not particularly interesting. I don't think it's particularly a sign of rotation. Because if they were, then they'd probably move away from that as a design, same way as I was saying about the counter-attacks, right?
Mm.
Whoa, we've
And on
talked
that
a
note-
lot.
What you saying, Matt?
And on that note, let's wrap this
Yeah,
up.
done. That's got to be it, right? I mean, do we have a 4th part of our 1-part series? No.
No,
Is this it? Have we
I don't
covered
think
every keyword?
I don't think anyone wants any more. This one was.
I don't think anybody wanted any at the start, so let's not use that as a criteria for whether we continue.
Well, we've gone through a lot of keywords in an episode that originally we thought would be a one-shot and turned out to be a 3-part one. We thought that this 3rd part could be done within like 30, 45 minutes, maybe. Like very little chance it would reach an hour and a half.
Yeah, but then Matt
now
spent 40 minutes talking about the different Dragon Balls.
Yeah, because they're important.
That was
They're
interesting.
not.
I like
They're all crap.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was the point. That's the whole point of this. I think you've forgotten what we were talking about at the beginning. It's the underutilized stuff.
No, that's
And
true.
it was about like how these cards really need to be redone.
Fair.
I liked it.
Whereas we spent loads of time talking about super combos, and they've done loads with the design space, and they don't.
That's
There's
true.
not super combo is the least underutilized.
Keyword for sure. We see it everywhere.
Oh, we made a huge mistake. Right, scrub it.
We have
Vince.
to redo everything.
We're not publishing this one.
We are. We just need to publish the other ones with the right version of it. Okay, well, how do we want to wrap this up?
Zeno Sama Mo Tamage.